India's foreign policy, any day, my dear friends, is a useful starting point for your understanding of how India seeks to engage and interact with rest of the world. So in this video, my dear friends, let us try to dig into the essence of India's foreign policy, especially with reference to the needs India has and how it seeks to fulfill those needs by engaging the world in the best of its own interest, also of the interest of world at large. Hi, Vinay Kumar here, international NLP and IAS coach. In this video, like I just mentioned, my dear friends, I'm going to take into consideration the great psychologist Abraham Maslow's need hierarchy theory and explain to you the essence of India's foreign policy with reference to how Indian foreign policy has been a function of its needs. Is that clear, my dear friends? Super. But I have a small exercise for you before I start with what I'm going to share with you. Grab a pen and paper, okay, and pause the video for a few seconds. Just write down some 10 important points that matters to India in its present day growth ambitions, growth strategy. What matters to India? Just write down, my dear friends. I'm not even asking you to write about where it is going to satisfy all these needs of growth. I'm just talking about what you feel are the needs of India in its present, context of growth. Is that clear, my dear friends? Now pause it. 10 seconds, do this exercise. Just scribble whatever comes to your head. If you have done it, super, fantastic. Now, let us continue with our interaction on India's foreign policy explained in terms of the hierarchy of needs that it has. Now, here I would like to make a mention of the words of one of the greatest diplomat the world has ever seen, Henry Kissinger. Yeah, one of the greatest diplomats world has ever seen, who was the Secretary of External Affairs, United States of America, my dear friends. Okay. Now, he makes a statement. He says, there are no permanent friends when it comes to foreign policy. There are no permanent enemies. There are only permanent interests. So every country on this planet, when it comes to formulation of foreign policy, first looks into its national interest. That is something that needs to be taken into consideration before we, take this discourse on foreign policy any further, my dear friends. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? So foreign policy is not about what you want to give. Rather, it's more about what you want to get, and in reciprocation, what you would like to give. Are you understanding what I'm trying to tell you? So it's not charity policy, by the way. It's foreign policy. Are you understanding? It's not philanthropy policy, by the way. It's foreign policy. And foreign policies are always drafted and formulated, keeping in the mind the best interests of the country that is actually formulating it. Are you understanding, my dear friends? Now, having said this, so one thing is very clear, my dear friends, in the statement that I just shared with you, that a country's needs overrides all other considerations when it comes to formulation of its foreign policy. Which means what? When the country seeks to engage and interact with the world, it's first looking at how its needs are getting fulfilled by doing so. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you, my dear friends? Now, let us quickly look into the hierarchy triangle, the hierarchy pyramid of needs, presented by one of the greatest psychologists of all times, the great Abraham Maslow. Now here, if you can see the hierarchy of needs, my dear friends, at the bottom of the pyramid is the physiological needs, and then you have the safety and the security needs, you have the love needs, you have the growth needs or the recognition needs, and then you have the self-actualization needs. Actually, according to the theory, my dear friends, without a lower order need, without a need in the bottom of the pyramid being satisfied, people don't get motivated for the next level of need. And when a need is satisfied or fulfilled, that need no longer motivates you to actions. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you, my dear friend? That's what is the essence, the core essence of the theory. Okay, so same thing holds good to almost all the countries of the world when it comes to their domestic or foreign policy, my dear friends. Is that clear? So every country, if you see, if you look into the the perspective or the annual developmental plan of any country, they won't look the same. Like, let's say if you look into developmental plan of Burkina Faso or Burundi, and you compare it with United States of America or Sweden or Finland, you'll get to understand, my dear friends, they're so very different. You know, they're trying to fulfill needs at a different level, correct? Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? So that's a domestic policy. Now, just like that, when you're actually drafting a policy that has to do with how you're going to engage rest of the world, you're again looking into what needs matter to you the most. Is that clear, my dear friends? Perfect. Super. Now, so as we look into this triangle, you know, the pyramid, my dear friends, of the needs, let us start when we take into consideration India's foreign policy and how it seeks to fulfill its needs, fulfill its needs through its foreign policy. Let's first take into consideration the physiological needs. I don't think India has any longer any motivation, related to any motivation related to what it formulates as a foreign policy with reference to physiological needs, because I see in terms of what any other country can do to India in terms of fulfilling its physiological needs, I think that era is over, my dear friends. Yeah, we do have poverty to battle still in the country. We still have a lot of deprivation, hunger, and all those things are still there, but it's mostly to do with domestic governance and domestic whatever, my dear friends. It's all related to within the country, what we need to do, how we need to address these challenges. But there was a time way back in the immediate aftermath of independence, my dear friends, where we had to depend on even our basic needs like food we had to depend on very, very basic needs like food on some of the superpowers of the world way back then, my dear friends, who had every scope to arm twist our own national policies, or arm twisters when it came even to formulation of our own national policies, because of the kind of dependence that we had on fulfillment of even our very, very basic needs. Is that clear, my dear friends? Okay, thank you. Now, so when it comes to physiological needs, I don't think any longer foreign policy becomes very important for us, my dear friends. But when it comes to the next level of needs, foreign policy becomes all the more important for India. Okay, and when it comes to the security or the safety needs, I feel the literature in foreign policy, the literature in the present day foreign policy will be filled with statements and terminologies related to India's security concerns, my dear friends. Now, when I talk about security, there are 6 dimensions to it, my dear friends. 6 dimensions. Okay, please look at each one of them, as each one, security of each one leading to the next one, my dear friends. Is that clear? The first type or the first dimension of security that needs to be taken into consideration when you get to the job of formulating foreign policy is your food security. Now, you will be wondering, so just now you mentioned we don't have any needs as such at a physiological level for which we need any foreign country help or assistance. But then I'm not talking about food security in the context of the conditions that existed way back in the aftermath of independence, okay, where we spoke of things like ship to mouth and all that, my dear friends. I'm talking about nutritional security. The vibrant middle class, the vibrant urban middle class of India, also the empowered rural population, thanks to job guarantee programs and all that, my dear friends, has greater demand for protein rich foods and diversity of foods when it comes to nutritional security. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? For this, our I don't use the word reliance, but some kind of necessity has come where we need to depend on some countries for these kind of food imports. Is that clear, my dear friends? That's what is the food security that I'm talking about here. The second type of so when you have to fulfill the nutritional security needs, invariably you need to look at friendly importers, the friendly exporters of these food products, my dear friends. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to? So they always come as a priority when it comes to food security. Some of the countries of the world who are net exporters of these food products that you have a high demand for will always appear as a priority when it comes to your food security needs in the formulation of foreign policy. Is that clear, my dear friends? Thank you. Second, energy security. I'm really sorry, my dear friends. I just skipped one. Okay, energy security comes next. Employment security, job security. By the way, as you know very well, my dear friends, India is experiencing the phenomena of demographic dividend. It's skilling its youth, it's skilling its middle-aged population and making people ready to take up jobs, not just in India, but in every other part of the world, especially in the developed world, where there are a lot of jobs, but there are no people to occupy them. There is a lot of employment opportunities, but there are no employable people. Okay, so with India experiencing its stage, its phase of demographic dividend, okay, it should definitely look out to partnering, definitely look out to having friendly relationships with those countries where the senile population is increasing and there will be great demand for people from the developing world to go and occupy their jobs, especially from the countries like India. Do you get that, my dear friends? Clear? So given the fact of demographic dividend, India should always seek out partners who will also be potential employers for the ever increasing youth population of the country, which is also going to be skilled. Employment security, my dear friends. Is that clear? See how foreign policy is drafted taking into consideration needs one by one at a level, my dear friends. Are you understanding? Perfect. 3. The third one is the energy security. Now, with the kind of growth ambitions that the country has got, you will very well know its energy security needs will be very high, my dear friends, and that clearly points us to have friendly relationships with energy rich countries, hydrocarbon rich countries like in the Middle East and Central Asia, also rest of the world who have very high reserves of hydrocarbons to share with rest of the world. Is that clear, my dear friends? Energy security. So still oil remains important, oil and gas still remains important forms of energy, and so naturally those countries which are oil rich or gas rich will be priority countries for us when it comes to fulfilling our energy security needs, my dear friends. Is that clear? So foreign policy will automatically reflect the importance of these countries and the relations with them, so that our energy security needs are met. Now, in the present context of the world where alternate forms of energy and non-renewable energy is gaining greater significance, India also should look out to partner with those countries where technology transfer is easy, related to better water use practices or greater harness of energy like solar energy. So countries like Israel becomes our natural friend when it comes to our exploration of newer forms of energy, the energies that are going to become important in the days to come. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you, my dear friends? Perfect. Superb. The fourth type of security is the border security. Now, even in a world where no longer Frederick Ratzel's Lebensraum is a norm, like during the time of World War I or World War II, my dear friends, no longer world depends on, no longer countries are engaged in their territorial expansion and all that, as pointed out by our Prime Minister Narendra Modi when there was alleged Chinese incursions into our border in the recent times, my dear friends. Okay, but then what is to be taken into serious consideration is our border security problems are real. We have a very aggressive, very ambitious country, right in our neighborhood, which aims to become a leader of, which has a dream of becoming a leader of Asia and rest of the world in the years to come, my dear friends. And unfortunately, since its aggressive stances has been acknowledged by almost all of the neighborhood, India should also take due consideration of this fact and take care of its border security very well. So border security needs are real for India. Having said that, we also have hostile neighborhood which has been created by creating artificial boundaries. Okay. And that is also, see, a poorly policed border will lead to number of domestic problems for India, not just in terms of war or external aggression, but also infiltration of people, which may lead to a lot of demographic tussles within the country, as experienced in the Northeast and West Bengal, my dear friends. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? Is that clear? Perfect. So border security, we need to take care of that. And when it comes to border security, as you very well know, there are two things that India has to take into consideration when it comes to foreign policy reflection of our border security needs. One, it will have to have a friendly neighborhood, as easy as simple as that. Two, it will have to have friendly defense partners who can provide it with sophisticated arms and ammunitions, modern age weaponry to guard its borders well. Is that clear, my dear friends? That's about the border security. And next in importance comes, especially the 21st century, cyber security. Now, as you know, we are in a cashless, we are becoming a cashless economy, and the whole world is becoming cashless. So more and more transactions are going to happen digitally. In fact, not just market transactions, almost all of human transactions now happen in the cyberspace. So it's very, very important to protect that space, protect the sacrosanctity of that space, my dear friends, for which India needs friendly countries which have very advanced cyber security personnel and paraphernalia, very, very sophisticated cyber security technology, which we can, own for ourselves when we have friendly neighbor, when we have better support and cooperation from them. Are you connecting to that, my dear friends? Perfect. Cyber security. The sixth form of security that I want to talk about is the intellectual property security. As you very well know, my dear friends, this is a world where many of indigenous goods and indigenous products get to be hijacked by the transnational companies or the multinational companies, which get to have patenting rights on them. Now, in such a scenario, what is happening is your own goods, something that your forefathers used with lot of complacency, you may have to end up spending a lot waiting for it to come as a import from some other country, only because the right of its use has been limited to some country outside, which comes, takes away your goods and calls it as its. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? So if there is one form of property that is going to have highest weightage, highest value in 21st century, as you very well know, it will be intellectual property. So it's important for us to make it a point in our foreign policy to develop a proactive stance in multilateral negotiations or even plurilateral negotiations on the norms related to intellectual security and data security, data privacy, all these things, my dear friends. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? So 6 forms of security becomes very important for us when it comes to our formulation of foreign policy and the kind of countries that we'll have as friends to help us fulfill all these needs, my dear friends. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? Yeah. The third need, as you see, my dear friends, is the love need or the emotional needs. Now, when it comes to that, there are 3 things that I would like to point out, my dear friends. There are 3 types of love needs that India has, especially with reference to formulation of its foreign policy. The first type of love need that it has is, as you very well know, my dear friends, India shares border with countries in its east and west. The border being the most artificial border anywhere in the world. It literally divides one people into 2. It's an anthropogenic border. Okay, borders or boundaries are political, agreed, my dear friends, but nowhere has it divided one people into 2, like the way the boundaries of India has divided it with its neighbors in the east and west. If you take into consideration the Pakistan or Bangladesh, my dear friends, there is so much of cultural homogeneity and contiguity. Unfortunately, these borders divide the people, and since they are smaller countries and they see the need to assert their sovereignty, they always look up to India. All the smaller neighbors of India look up to India with a lot of suspicion and mistrust. They have a big brother image of India in their head, my dear friends, which is to be warded off by India by doctrines like Gujarat doctrines, where you extend all needs, where you extend all kinds of support and cooperation to these countries without expecting them to reciprocate the same to you. Is that clear, my dear friend? So the first type of love need is that, the love from the neighborhood, because if India's growth ambitions are to be fulfilled, my dear friends, India's positioning as a superpower India's positioning as a great power in the world is to come true, it first has to fix its neighborhood. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you, my dear friends? Okay, so that's the first type of love need that I would like to talk about, my dear friends, where it develops a climate of trust, a climate of peace and belongingness and fraternity in its neighborhood, my dear friends. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? Is that clear, my dear friends? So that's about the first type of love need. The second type of love needs that I want to talk about is, my dear friends, India has such a vast minority population, and as our preambular values, clearly make it very clear to us that we stand for secularism and we seek to achieve dignity and growth of every individual. Our minorities' rights and aspirations are to be respected, my dear friends. Some of the foreign countries, some of the countries in the world have special relationship with the minorities in the country. Like, for example, Jews in India look up to Israel. The vast Muslim population in the country look up to Saudi Arabia as, for pilgrimage and all those things, my dear friends. And there are so many Christians who live in the country who look up to friendly relations with the countries, that have been the birthplace of Christianity and all that. So to respect and give due regards to the interests of our minorities and their aspirations, India needs to have very friendly relationship with these countries, my dear friends. That's the second aspect of the love need that the country has got, which can be factored in the foreign policy. Clear? And the third type of the love need is the bondage, the emotional bondage that Indian diaspora has with us. Any Indian who is an American is proud to be an Indian. That needs to be respected, and a friendly relationship with America is very important, because America never treats Indians with a second class whatever, my dear friends. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? In the rest of the world also, where there's a lot of Indian diaspora, we need to proactively establish cordial relationships, because the lives of diaspora and their interests there matter to us, my dear friends, for all the emotions that we share with them. That is the third type of love need. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you, my dear friends? There are so many dimensions when it comes to formulation of foreign policy, my dear friends. Okay, having said all of this, let's make a foray now into the recognition needs or the growth needs. When it comes to the recognition needs, I see India as a country ambitious to become a great power by 2050, my dear friends. It wants to be recognized on the global stage, and it wants its voice to be heard in the global forums like United Nations, like World Trade Organization, and all of this, my dear friends. And it would want to show to the world, it would want to position itself as the economic superpower of the world, with its vibrant corporate initiative and its ever expanding market. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you, my dear friends? If on one hand it wants to assert itself as the economic superpower of the world, nevertheless it also wants to assert its newly developed political and military prowess to the rest of the world, my dear friends. Not only that, in an era where science and technology in combination with knowledge economy is becoming a norm for the world, India does not want to miss out being in the top, in a top league of powers which will be recognized in the planet, my dear friends. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? So when it comes to recognition and growth, India seeks to have friendly relationships with countries which can help it go to the, which can help it grow to the next level in being the economic superpower of the world. It wants to develop friendly relationship with countries which will, have lot of support and cooperation to collaborate with it in its science and technology developmental efforts, be it space, be it cyber, be it, biotechnology, be it nuclear technology, or anything for that matter which is going to be useful to the mankind, my dear friends. Not only that, it also wants to have friendly relationships with those countries which is going to have demand for Indian made products, helping India take its make in India to the next level. Now what I'm trying to tell you is this: as you very well know, my dear friends, there is this Antrix, which is a it's a marketing arm of ISRO, my dear friends. It's an arm where people from rest of the world, countries from rest of the world patronize, consume the space technology products of India. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you, my dear friends? Now India would like to definitely have good partnership with, India would definitely like to have very friendly ties with countries which will help it achieve the next level of market recognition when it comes to the consumption of its products, especially in the science and technology and the space areas, my dear friends. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? Is that clear? Perfect. Now in this video, my dear friends, I'm just setting the context for you for the foreign policy. That's why I'm not making it very technical, my dear friends. In subsequent videos of foreign policy, I'm going to get into the details and help you with why India sees a very friendly relationship with Russia or Israel or let's say any other country of the world, my dear friends. Is that clear? Perfect. Now, so having understood how recognition needs or growth needs of India determines its foreign policy, let's move on to the final and the most important need, which is the self-actualization need. When it comes to self-actualization, my dear friends, India looks at promotion of its values, its principles that it has stood for eternally, time immemorial, from the time of Vedas, from the time of whatever the mankind can look back into with the known historical evidences. Okay, India has stood for certain values. In fact, one of the statement made by a British officer who was responsible for introducing, who was responsible for making a survey on the conditions conducive for introduction of English education, says the moral values of this country is unmatched. It runs through the length and breadth of the country. It runs through the cells and nerves of everyone in this country. Okay, so as a self-actualizing need, India wants to go out and spread its values, enhance the consciousness of the world, which it has always stood for. As you very well know, yoga is something that India is vigorously promoting throughout the world, my dear friends. And the Buddhist values, which is one of the cornerstone of India's, eternal principles, is something that India would like to promote everywhere in the world, my dear friends. And the values of peace, love, non-violence, that became a gospel of our, that became a driving force of our national movement, is something that India would like to, give to the world, contribute to the world. And all this becomes factors into formulation of foreign policy, my dear friends. Hope this video helped to you, my dear friends, explaining to you how the five hierarchical needs determine and become a function of foreign policy of any country. In fact, in our video, in our discourse, India. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you, my dear friends? Thank you very much, my dear friends, for learning from this video. See you all in my next video with more details on India's engagement with rest of the world. Thank you.